let's talk tech.
Yeah.
There's a new sheriff in town, and that town is called the Metaverse. And the sheriff is called Meta because it's their town.
Yeah.
What do you think? Uncle Mark, Uncle Zuck, he's whittling a corncob pipe. He's going to be sitting in the Metaverse, ready to talk to everyone. And I did see, so Supermassive, people know him from the Defiant.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was, while that thing was going on, he did this tweet that I just loved. He said, "Thanks, Mark, for ruining it for us."
It does feel a little like that. Yeah. God, there's all sorts of concerns I have about it. I know they're in the middle of a rebranding thing and all that kind of stuff. And it's hard to tell what exactly is going on here. But this one quote from, it's from the article on Notorious, from the head of product, saying people will be able to sell limited edition digital objects like NFTs. It's difficult for me to read that. Yeah. If they're saying sell like as in addition to NFTs, and you could also sell NFTs, or these are digital goods that are like NFT. Yeah. Like, is this another sidechain play? And we talked about the pros and cons of sidechain, and I know I'm helping out on a sidechain project, full disclosure, but something about a company that's trying to change their image about how they control everything about their platform, and now moving into a new meta space that's sort of perceived as transparent and open. And then you can already sort of feel this, like, I don't think anyone thought that it would be any different, but I don't think
it was an hour and 17-minute presentation. It was really finely crafted. And it just, it seemed to be incongruent with what's going on in Web3, which is just pure chaos.
Yeah, it doesn't have the punk rock thing that's going on.
Yes.
And like early tech has always felt like that to me. It's always felt just chaotic and not necessarily pretty early on, but there's an energy to it and a potential to it that gets you really excited about the future of it. But this didn't feel like that.
Right. So I'm trying to think what that would be like. So
like
you're
disco.
talking about the Ramones. It's the Ramones, and like the most conventional band there is. I guess it's probably U2 now, but U2 at least at one time had street cred. Maybe they still do. It would clearly one of the best bands of all time, but maybe should we call Facebook one of the best bands of all time? I don't know. We will end our analogies there, but I think the Ramones and Web3 is a good alignment. So, okay, I was talking to a friend of mine who really prominent in Web1, a really big innovator in that space. And he watched it. He's just like, oh, this is like Bill Gates talking about the internet. He said, and it's like Bill Gates talking about mobile. He said, you know, we always, everyone likes us in this space. NGMI, never going to make it.
Yeah.
They have all of the pieces that they need.
Interesting.
They have the resources. They're going to spend 10 bills on it, which should get them pretty far.
I will say I got
show up.
Yeah, I wonder. I worked for a long time in the space, because it's relatively new, in VR AR space. I was on an innovation group at eBay, and we were doing a bunch of VR and AR stuff. And I got to use a lot of headsets, pretty much every one that's out there. And I think that the Oculus, the Quest 2, is usable. It's the first one I've played that is actually usable and enjoyable, and it feels closer than it ever has. I think all the questions you said are still totally valid, and I have all the same skepticism. But I do know that I think they have a head start in terms of understanding how to make it more accessible to people and make people want to spend time in a virtual environment. Now that and the metaverse don't even have to be the same necessarily.
But I wonder if the people that they're going to help in actually want to be in the metaverse. Because the people who are left as heavy users of Facebook strike me as late adopters of technology. So I'll bring up a couple other things that I think are interesting. So first of all, I don't know, it's maybe 30 minutes in. He's doing a demo and he's showing his like realistic image and he's going to the avatar image. But the realistic image, he's talking about this idea, you're in the same room with people. What most people don't remember is when they bought Oculus originally, it was really not about games. They moved towards games because those are the only people who cared, again, who are the early adopters.
Yeah.
But the vision there was you connect with people online, and they were thinking, and I think they were thinking, how can we make this more immersive so that it's about people engaging with each other? But people are in Africa, and I think this was their example, was Africa and California. And how do they feel like they're in the room together? So they've come back to that, which I think is great. And that's what a lot of the metaverse experiences are about, about some sort of familial interaction.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense to me. However, I have this sense that they still think the metaverse is about goggles. And I believe the metaverse in goggles will be like at the 10%. 90% will be something else. What do you think?
I think it's going to be, I think you're absolutely right. And I think people are still trying to define what the metaverse even is. I think it's going to be like the internet, in that your phone has internet and a desktop computer has an internet and a gaming rig has internet and your television. Like, I think there'll be bite-sized things. If anything, I think it's going to be distributed amongst all sorts of places. And it might end up just meaning that you're taking some digital content you own and your identity and your relationships to different platforms, and the metaverse is your ability to move between those. I don't know. I don't think it is just goggles.
Here's a prediction. Facebook has just put metaverse on every VC investor and media companies short list of important things.
So I love, because it's jacked up all the metaverse properties. Yeah,
they probably just created all of their competitors who are going to destroy them. But certainly they created a situation where there's going to be even more investment. There's been a ton of investment in the space over the last year, even more investment, even more chance that the company is going to displace them is going to be accelerated based on the fact that they announced they're in it.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing that I'll give Facebook credit for. I think they saved it in a lot of ways, because I think it's still early too. And people don't. Decentraland to me is a fantastic example of this. You go in and there's so many neat. Decentraland reminds me of CD-ROMs in the early 90s. Like, you get this CD-ROM, you put in this, there's full motion video, there's all kinds of neat stuff, but nothing is quite super compelling. It's novel, it's new, it's really interesting, but there's no games quite yet that are really robust. It's still a little just not quite there. And I think Decentraland has the ability to be lots of things, but because there's no specific thing you do there, people kind of roam around. They look at a little bit of art, they watch a little bit of a show. So I think they're kind of, someone needs to come up with that killer experience that makes people stick. And I think this is going to give it another like big chunk of runway to find that, and also a bunch more users to come in and help define that, because that's really, I think, what's going to make it happen.
I don't know if the Facebook users of the Facebook metaverse, the metaverse users, are going to go to Decentraland. We'll see how that.
I don't think them. I think that other crypto native folks, or folks that have been in crypto looking at NFTs but haven't dabbled much in, they might own Mana, or they might own Sand, but they haven't jumped into the Sandbox or Decentraland, might start to get the idea to do that. I think that could be interesting. The sandbox I'm really excited about because they do have some specific, because it's so geared towards gaming, but you can make other types of experiences. I still think that they're going to be a winner in this space.